Imagine answering your phone and hearing the trembling voice of your daughter. She's crying, terrified, begging for help. Her exact voice. The pitch, the pauses, even the way she says, "Dad." But then the call drops. You panic, dial her number, and she answers calmly, "What are you talking about? I'm fine." That's when you realize you weren't talking to her at all. Welcome to the terrifying world of AI voice cloning, where your voice or the voice of someone you love can be stolen and turned into a weapon against you. And tonight, we're diving into the scams you won't believe and why this may just be the most dangerous technology of our time. The first major story that shocked the public happened in 2023. Jennifer DeStefano, an Arizona mother, got a call that nearly froze her blood. On the line, she heard her 15-year-old daughter sobbing, pleading, "Mom, please help me. They've got me. They're going to hurt me." A man's voice interrupted. "If you want to see your daughter again, you'll pay us $1 million. Jennifer's knees went weak. The voice wasn't similar. It wasn't a bad impersonation. It was exactly her daughter's voice. The crying, the inflections, everything matched perfectly. She screamed for someone to call the police. Her hands shook so hard she nearly dropped the phone. But within minutes, she learned the truth. Her daughter was safe, sitting in a dance rehearsal. The call was a deepfake generated using AI voice cloning technology. No one had kidnapped her daughter. The voice had been stolen, and this wasn't a one-off. So how is this even possible? Turns out your voice is one of the easiest things to steal. Think about it. Every time you post a TikTok, an Instagram reel, a YouTube short, or even leave a voicemail, greeting, you're leaving behind samples of your voice. And modern AI doesn't need hours of footage. Just 3 seconds is enough to clone a person's voice so well that even close family members can't tell the difference. Here's how the scam works. 1. They collect your voice from social media, interviews, or even background audio in a video. 2. They upload it to an AI model. Dozens of websites now allow anyone to create a custom voice clone. 3. They generate scripts, typing in words they want your cloned voice to say. 4. They make the call, usually during a moment of panic, like pretending someone's been kidnapped or is in an accident. And just like that, your trust is weaponized against you. But it's not just families being targeted. In 2019, the CEO of a UK-based energy firm got a call from what he believed was his boss, the head of the parent company in Germany. The voice on the line was firm, commanding, unmistakable. His boss ordered him to urgently wire 220,000 euros, 243,000 US dollars, to a supplier's account. The CEO didn't hesitate. He sent the money. But later, investigators revealed the chilling truth. The entire call had been conducted using a cloned voice of his boss. The real man never made that call. And just like that, nearly $250,000 was gone. Stolen through a voice scam. Here's the scariest part. Voice is deeply personal. More personal than a face on video, more personal than a typed message. We've evolved to trust voices. A mother can recognize her child's cry in a crowded room. A husband can pick his wife's voice out of 100 people. And scammers know this. They use urgency, fear, panic. They clone the voices of loved ones crying, screaming, begging. It bypasses logic. Because in that moment, you don't analyze. You don't ask questions. You react. And by the time you stop to think, it's already too late. So who's behind all this? Here's the uncomfortable truth. The technology itself isn't illegal. There are legitimate companies like 11 Labs, Resemble.ai, and Microsoft's Volley project, building AI voice tech for good reasons, helping stroke patients speak again, making video games more immersive, allowing filmmakers to dub movies into other languages without losing emotion. But the same tools being used to give voices to the voiceless are being weaponized by criminals. And right now, there are almost no laws that can stop it. Anyone, anywhere in the world, can log onto a website, upload a voice sample, and start cloning. Let me tell you about a scam so cruel it makes your stomach turn. It's called the grandparent scam. One evening, an elderly woman in Ontario, Canada, answered the phone. On the other end was her grandson. His voice was shaky, frantic. "Grandma, I've been in an accident. Please, I need help. Don't tell Mom and Dad." She nearly dropped the phone. The voice was perfect, his tone, his nervous laugh, even the way he called her Gram. A lawyer quickly got on the line, explaining that her grandson had injured a woman in a car crash and needed $9,000 for bail money. Without hesitation, she drove straight to the bank. By the time she realized it was all a scam, the money was gone. The grandson had never called. His voice had been cloned. And here's the kicker. Investigators later found the scammer used a 10-second TikTok video her grandson had posted months earlier. Just 10 seconds was enough. These scams aren't just stealing money, they're breaking families. Imagine this. A father gets a call from his daughter saying she's been kidnapped. He pays a ransom before calling the police. Later, he finds out his daughter was safe the entire time. Now, he has to sit across from his real daughter, feeling like he failed her, feeling like he wasn't strong enough to protect her. The money is gone, but what remains is the psychological scar. Scammers aren't just stealing cash. They're stealing trust, security, and peace of mind. So how exactly do these scams unfold? Let's break down the scammer's step-by-step playbook. 1. Harvesting voices. They scrape TikTok, YouTube, Facebook, even LinkedIn. Anywhere you've spoken publicly, your voice is up for grabs. 2. Cloning. They upload samples into AI voice software. With each passing month, the tech gets better. Stutters, breathing patterns, even emotional tones can now be replicated. 3. Staging the call. Scammers wait for vulnerable times, late at night, during work hours, or even when loved ones are traveling. 4. Injecting fear. The first words are always emotional. Crying, begging, screaming. Shocks the brain, stopping rational thought. 5. The demand. Once the hook sinks in, they hand the call to a kidnapper, police, officer, or lawyer who demands money. 6. Vanishing. The second the money's wired, they're gone. Untraceable. This isn't guesswork. This is calculated emotional warfare. Here's something most people don't know. There's an entire underground black market for voice data. On dark web forums, scammers openly trade voice samples, cloned models, and even ready-to scripts. You can buy a package deal, a cloned voice of a CEO, fake background noise to make it sound real, and pre-written scripts for ransom or wire fraud, all for just a few $100s. Think about that. For less than the price of a new iPhone, anyone can weaponize your voice against your own family. Experts estimate that voice cloning scams will cause over $12 billion in losses by 2030. And it's not just kidnapping hoaxes. Banks. Criminals use cloned voices to trick biometric security systems. Companies. Fraudsters impersonate executives to approve fake payments. Politics. Fake audio recordings of politicians are already being used to spread misinformation. This isn't science fiction. It's happening now. And as the technology improves, the scams will only get more convincing, more targeted, and harder to detect. In 2022, a Chinese tech startup lost $35 million after scammers used AI to impersonate the voice of the company's director. A video call was staged with deepfake visuals, but it was the voice that sealed the deal. Employees believed they were speaking directly to their boss and authorized massive transfers. The case shocked the industry because it wasn't a random scam. It was surgical, precise, targeted. This wasn't some random grandparent being fooled. This was a sophisticated corporate takedown using stolen voices. Here's why these scams feel impossible to resist. 1. Emotion. AI voices can now cry, whisper, panic, all at the push of a button. 2. Urgency. Scammers never give you time to think. It's always life or death. 3. Isolation. Calls are made at times when verifying is difficult, late at night, during travel, or when phones are out of reach. 4. Personalization. With just a few minutes of social media stalking, scammers know names, places, routines. They don't just clone your voice, they clone your life. Picture this. A mother in Arizona picks up the phone one Friday evening. On the other end is her daughter's voice, crying, screaming, "Mom, they have me. Please, don't call the police." The mother freezes. She can hear sobbing, muffled shouts, a man's voice yelling in the background. Then a man takes over the call. "We have your daughter. Wire $50,000 right now or she dies." Her blood runs cold. She begs to speak to her daughter again. She hears her voice once more. "Mom, please," before the line cuts out. Heart racing, she rushes to her laptop to transfer the money, and then a text pops up. It's her daughter. She's fine. She's safe. She's at a ski practice across town. The kidnapping never happened. The voice on the call was an AI clone stolen from a few Instagram clips. It was enough to convince a mother that her world was falling apart. You'd think trained law enforcement officers wouldn't fall for scams like this, but they do. In 2023, detectives in the UK admitted they were nearly duped by a cloned voice of a government official. The voice was calm, commanding, official. It directed them to release sensitive documents for an urgent security matter. Luckily, someone double-checked before the release. But the point was clear. If police can be fooled, anyone can. Voice cloning has evolved past the stage of prank calls. It's becoming a weapon of deception that's dangerously hard to verify. This problem isn't limited to the US or Europe. It's global. In India, call centers have begun experimenting with cloned voices to impersonate bank officials. Customers are asked to verify PINs, only to have their accounts drained. In Nigeria, voice-cloned kidnappings are spreading like wildfire, targeting wealthy families who already fear real abductions. In Brazil, scammers use AI voices to trick elderly relatives into sending money for fake hospital emergencies. Voice cloning is becoming the new international crime wave, cheap, fast, and devastating. Why now? Why is voice cloning exploding today? The answer lies in 3 words: access, affordability, accuracy. 10 years ago, cloning a voice required a lab and millions of dollars. Today, anyone with an internet connection can do it for free using open source tools. And with every update, the quality gets harder to distinguish from real life. It's the perfect storm. Billions of people posting their voices online every day. Scammers armed with AI tools anyone can download. And victims who have no idea this technology even exists. That storm is only just beginning. Let's pause for a second. We often talk about scams in terms of money. How much was stolen? How many billions were lost? But the real damage is psychological. Victims report panic attacks, insomnia, paranoia. Some stop answering their phones altogether. Others feel permanent guilt for falling for the scam, even though the truth is anyone could have been fooled. And families? They're fractured. Imagine being a teenager whose cloned voice was used in a fake kidnapping scam. Your parents may never fully shake that trauma. They may never again answer a late-night phone call without fear. AI isn't just stealing money, it's stealing peace of mind. Now here's where things get even darker. The very companies building voice cloning tech, many of them know their tools are being abused. Some brag about how realistic their clones sound. Some openly advertise free demos where anyone can upload a sample and download a perfect copy in minutes. And almost none have strong security checks in place. One CEO was even caught on tape saying, "We can't police every use case. That's up to the customer." Translation: they're profiting while criminals weaponize their technology. And regulators? They're always 3 steps behind. Some companies claim they've built safeguards. Things like watermarking cloned voices, requiring permission slips for cloning, flagging suspicious behavior. But criminals don't care. They move to the next platform, the next tool. And because there are hundreds of startups racing to outdo each other, every safeguard gets bypassed almost immediately. We're in the middle of an arms race. But unlike traditional wars, this one doesn't involve guns or bombs. It involves your voice. Here's the most chilling part of all. Once your voice is cloned, it's cloned forever. You can change your bank password. You can freeze your credit card. You can move to a new address. But your voice is permanent. Every voicemail you've left, every podcast you've spoken on, every TikTok you've posted, they're all potential ammunition for scammers. And that raises one terrifying question. What happens when your own voice turns against you? Imagine this. You're sitting at your desk when the phone rings. Hello, this is Chase Bank Security. We've detected unusual activity on your account. Before we proceed, can you please confirm your name and date of birth? The voice is professional, calm. It sounds exactly like the bank rep you've spoken to before. You give your details. The rep continues. For verification, please repeat the 6-digit code we've just sent to your phone. You glance down. There's the text from your bank. You read it out loud. What you don't realize is you've just handed over the key to your account. Within 10 minutes, your savings are gone. The entire call was fake. The rep's voice was cloned from publicly available recordings of Real Chase employees. And the scammers? They never even set foot inside the US. Now scale that up. In 2020, an energy company CEO in the UK received a phone call from his boss in Germany. At least it sounded like his boss. The accent, the tone, even the way he said the company's name. It was flawless. The boss instructed him to urgently transfer 220,000 euros to a Hungarian supplier. The CEO didn't question it. He wired the money immediately. By the time anyone realized what happened, the money had vanished into a maze of offshore accounts. The cloned voice? It was generated using just a few YouTube interviews of the real German executive. One phone call, one voice, 250,000 gone. This one chills me. In 2023, a U.S. police department received a frantic 911 call. A teenage boy claimed his father was having a heart attack. The dispatcher immediately sent paramedics. Sirens blared, streets cleared. When they arrived, nothing. No emergency, no patient. It was a test run by criminals using cloned voices of local residents to see if they could fool first responders. And they did. The implications? Terrifying. Imagine an entire city's emergency response thrown into chaos because of fake cloned voices. Ambulances dispatched to fake addresses while real people die. Waiting is not just about money or crime. It's about power. During a heated election season, voters in one U.S. state received a robocall. The voice on the line, it sounded exactly like a popular candidate. This election is rigged. Don't bother showing up to the polls tomorrow. Save your time. Thousands of people heard the message. Some even believed it. Took days for the campaign to clarify it was a deepfake voice. By then, the damage was done. Democracy itself is now a target for AI voice scams. For some, the betrayal is even closer to home. A woman in Texas received a late-night call from her pastor. We're raising funds for a family whose home just burned down. I knew you'd want to help. Can you Venmo me $1,000 tonight? It was his voice, his warmth, his phrases. She didn't hesitate. She sent the money. The next morning, her pastor called, the real one. He had no idea what she was talking about. Her trust had been stolen, not by a stranger, but by her own pastor's cloned voice. Here's the hard truth. We've all gotten scam emails. Most of us have seen phishing texts. But scams like that are easier to spot. Bad grammar, strange links, suspicious wording. But a voice? A voice bypasses skepticism. It goes straight to the heart. We're wired from birth to trust voices. Parents' lullaby, a teacher's lesson, a doctor's calm, instructions. That's why voice cloning is so much more dangerous than any scam that came before. Feels human, feels real. And that's exactly why people keep falling for it. Behind all these scams are organized networks, not lone wolves. In Eastern Europe, cyber gangs have built AI farms dedicated solely to voice cloning. In Southeast Asia, scam call centers run 24/7, each operator armed with AI voices in multiple languages. In Africa and South America, smaller crews use cloned voices for kidnappings, extortion, and fraud. This isn't random. It's systematic, professional, global, and it's growing faster than law enforcement can keep up. Governments are scrambling, but they're always too late. In the US, lawmakers are debating whether cloned voices count as identity theft. In Europe, regulators are fighting over who should monitor AI misuse, the tech companies or the governments. In Asia, many countries don't even have AI-specific laws on the books. Meanwhile, scammers laugh. They don't care about borders. They don't care about laws. They move fast and the world moves slow. The truth? Right now, there's no real defense. You might think experts, AI researchers, security professionals, even voice actors would know the difference, but they don't. In blind tests, even trained professionals fail to distinguish real voices from AI clones more than half the time. Half. That means no matter how sharp you are, no matter how careful, you're just as likely to be fooled as anyone else. That's the real nightmare. And so we arrive at the big question. If voices can no longer be trusted, what happens to society? What happens to phone calls? To court testimony? To journalism? To love itself? Because if a voice is no longer proof of anything, then trust, the foundation of human connection, collapses. And if that collapses, what comes next? Not long ago, the idea of copying someone's voice belonged in science fiction. Hollywood showed us machines that could replicate voices perfectly. Spies using fake accents, robots speaking in familiar tones. But those were stories. The real-world technology arrived quietly. First, it was clunky, robotic. You could tell it wasn't human. But then, something shifted. Breakthroughs in deep learning gave computers the ability to learn how humans sound. Not just mimic words. By analyzing pitch, pauses, breath, and rhythm, AI models could do more than repeat. They could perform. Suddenly, voice cloning wasn't fiction. It was real. By 2018, major companies were racing to perfect it. Google stunned the world with Duplex, an AI system that called restaurants and booked reservations so convincingly that staff never knew it wasn't human. Amazon began experimenting with Alexa celebrity voices. With just a few samples, Alexa could sound like Samuel L. Jackson. Microsoft quietly developed neural TTS models capable of near-human performance. On the surface, these were fun, convenient, even revolutionary. But the underlying technology was the same one scammers would weaponize. Soon, smaller companies began offering cloning services. For as little as $5, you could upload 30 seconds of audio and receive a voice model. Some startups branded it as a tool for creators, podcasters, or audiobook narrators. But in the wrong hands, those same tools became weapons. A high schooler could clone his teacher's voice to prank call the principal. A scammer could clone a politician's voice to spread fake announcements. And with every year, the price dropped while the quality rose. Ironically, legitimate industries pushed voice cloning forward even faster. Think about it. Entertainment wanted actors' voices for animated films without hours in the studio. Healthcare wanted to restore voices for patients who'd lost theirs to illness. Education wanted lifelike tutors who could speak in any language. All noble causes, all powerful innovations. But every improvement for good became a tool for crime. Here's where things get messy. If an actor sells their voice rights to a studio, what happens when that voice is reused years later? If a podcaster signs up for a voice AI tool, do they realize they've given away the ability for anyone to make them say anything? And what about the dead? Yes, voice cloning can resurrect the voices of people who've passed away. Some families use it to preserve memories. But what happens when those voices are used for things those people never agreed to? The ethical lines blur fast. You've probably seen it already. Fake videos of celebrities saying things they never said. But with voices, it's even worse. Imagine Tom Hanks endorsing a crypto scam, Oprah promoting a fraudulent weight loss pill, Morgan Freeman narrating a conspiracy theory. It's not just possible, it's already happening. And for celebrities, the damage to reputation can be permanent. One fake clip spreads online, and the truth never catches up. Voice cloning isn't just about talking, it's about singing. In 2023, a song called Heart on My Sleeve went viral. It sounded like Drake and The Weeknd collaborating. Millions streamed it, critics praised it, but it wasn't real. It was AI. Neither Drake nor The Weeknd ever sang a note. The backlash was immediate. Music labels panicked. Lawsuits loomed, but fans loved it. Some even said AI music sounded more creative than the originals. What happens when people prefer the fake over the real? Here's what makes voice cloning different from any other AI. It's not just about sound. It's about emotion. Voices carry trust, comfort, authority. A cloned text can look fake. A cloned photo can look odd. But a cloned voice? It hits us deep. That's why scams using cloned voices are so effective. They don't trick your brain. They trick your heart. Even as risks mount, corporations keep adopting voice cloning. Banks use it for voice authentication. Airlines use it for customer support. Startups use it for training modules. But here's the paradox. The same banks using AI voices to verify customers are also being scammed by cloned voices of their own employees. The technology is both the lock and the crowbar. This is the crossroads we're at. Voice cloning can restore speech to cancer survivors. It can let a child hear a bedtime story read in their grandmother's voice, even after she's gone. But it can also bankrupt families, destabilize elections, and destroy lives. Innovation and exploitation side by side. And the line between them, almost invisible. At first, cloned voice scams were rare, one-off, experimental. But then criminals realized something: voice cloning scales. You don't need one scammer per victim. You can generate thousands of fake calls with the push of a button. One AI system, one cloned voice, one script, multiplied across entire countries. Suddenly, the problem wasn't a few families losing money. It was cities, nations, economies. In parts of the world, underground call centers operate like factories. Rows of computers, dozens of operators, scripts pasted on screens. But instead of speaking themselves, they feed text into voice cloning software. The software speaks in perfect English, or French, or Mandarin, whatever is needed. Every call feels personal. Every voice feels real. These aren't robocalls. They're human-sounding traps. Remember the grandparent scam? A criminal pretends to be a grandchild in trouble, begging for money. In the past, victims doubted it. The voice didn't sound right. But with cloning, the scam is nearly perfect. A grandmother answers the phone and hears her grandson's exact voice. The panic, the fear, the desperation, all cloned from a few seconds of audio pulled off TikTok or Instagram. And when she wires the money, it's gone forever. In 2023, Canadian police issued a warning. Cloned voice scams were exploding. Families were losing tens of thousands of dollars. In one case, a father emptied his savings after hearing his son's voice pleading for bail money. Later, investigators confirmed it wasn't his son at all. It was an AI voice built from a 5-second clip on social media. Here's a darker twist. In 2019, criminals cloned the voice of a CEO and tricked his employee into wiring $243,000 to a fake supplier. The employee swore it was the CEO's voice. Same accent, same tone, even the same slight stutter. That single call cost the company nearly $250,000. And the criminals? They vanished. If CEOs can be cloned, so can politicians. Imagine hearing your president or prime minister announce a sudden emergency, or urge citizens to protest, or endorse a policy they never supported. It's not hypothetical. In Slovakia, before an election, a deepfake audio of a politician surfaced, urging corruption. It spread online just before voting began. Fact-checkers debunked it, but by then, the damage was already done. Scammers don't work alone. They operate across borders. A A cloned voice may be generated in Asia, the call made from Africa, the money funneled through Europe. By the time law enforcement responds, the trail is ice cold. Voice cloning is borderless, and that makes it nearly impossible to stop. For every high-profile case that makes the news, there are thousands that don't. The elderly couple who lost their retirement savings. The single mother tricked into paying fake hospital bills. The immigrant family who thought they were helping their son, only to discover he'd been safe the whole time. These victims rarely speak out. Some are embarrassed. Others don't even realize they were scammed. Their silence hides the true scale of the crisis. Cloning a voice is one thing, but now criminals can do it in real time. That means someone can call you, speak into their microphone, and an AI instantly converts their words into your loved one's voice. Live. You can ask questions. They can answer. The illusion holds. This isn't a recording. It's a puppet. A digital mask that moves with every breath. And once real-time puppeteering becomes common, no voice will ever be safe again. What makes this so powerful isn't just the money. It's the fear. When you hear your loved one begging for help, you don't think logically. You don't check details. You don't pause. You act. Scammers know this. That's why they use voices. Because voices don't just speak, they command.